Alright, the next video will be covering how to remove the radio stereo on your 2011 up F250. This is similar for 2008 through 2010 as well. Okay, so I'm going to be installing an aftermarket Android navigation system. I'll cover that more in a little bit. Alright, first step, take a screwdriver, carefully pry out this right here, piece of plastic. Some trucks will have the power port, some won't. Same thing on the other side. If you have sync or just a cover, pry that off. I disconnect the wires on that. And what you'll see is on both sides there is a little, I believe that's 7 or 8 millimeter bolt that needs to come out. Once you get that out, the rest of this is just clipped in. And we will pull the cover off here and expose the bolts that hold the radio in. Alright, I got the two 7 millimeter bolts removed. Stick your hand in here and pull. Carefully. And now, so I've exposed that. Now, if you're just doing the radio, you could just lay this down here and remove the 4 bolts on the sides of the radio and pull it out. But I'm going to be refinishing this piece right here, so I need to go ahead and disconnect everything. So I'm going to reach back here, unplug all the wiring harnesses, and remove this completely from the truck. So here's all my pieces that I'm refinishing. And what I found that without searching too hard and doing too much work is Duplicolor stainless steel. The spray you can pick up in any auto parts store is a very, very, very close match to the factory silver metallic paint that's on this. In fact, I actually like it a little bit better. Just slightly different, but I've got the first 2 coats on here. I'll let this dry for a little bit, come back and put on a final coat, and it should turn out pretty good once everything's dry. So here's the radio I got. I'm gonna give it a shot. It's a Hizpo brand, but you can get it on eBay or Amazon. In this case, it's one of the cheaper Android stereos that will actually fit the opening in the dash. And papers and stuff goes aside. Nice thing about this radio is it comes with custom wiring harness that just plugs right in. One thing to note on here is it's meant for multiple years. Some of the earlier, like 2005 F250, does not use the CAN control, the computer control for the power wires. That's why they have this wire that's optional to connect. So if your factory harness has an accessory output, then you go ahead and leave this unplugged. If the car, basically if the radio doesn't turn on when you plug it all in, then you have to connect this because it uses the CAN system to interpret the accessory output. So yeah, that plugs in, and then we have the head unit itself, which fits directly in the dash opening. And like I said, what's nice about this is it's navigation and it's Android, and will run anything that like an Android phone would run. So you can download Waze and Pandora and everything directly to here. Use a Wi-Fi connection, use a hotspot on your phone. You can even get a 4G dongle for this, which no reason to do that in my case. And here is the GPS antenna that we will mount up under the dash. You will lose the ability to use the factory sync, but you should be able to retain your steering wheel controls. So you don't really need sync with this because it has voice control of its own. But I never really use sync anyway in any vehicle that I have. Kind of pointless, especially if you don't have factory navigation. But yeah, so this has inputs for USB drives, you know, you can connect your phone to it. You can connect wirelessly to it. There's lots of options. We'll cover those more once I get it installed. Okay, so once you get the 4 bolts removed on the radio, it will pull out like this. See your connections on the back. Just pull your antenna out and then unclip your 2 harnesses. The GPS antenna for the new navigation system is going to go up right in here, and it's magnetic, so it can sit right up on top of this metal right here, and it's just under this plastic. That will not block the signal, and it will work just fine. Alright, moved into the garage here. These brackets have to be transferred to the new stereo, so you have to take out these little Torx bit screws, and then we'll transfer those over here in a minute. And I want to show you, I'm also going to be hooking up a backup camera at the same time. I got this nice little setup off eBay. It's about $150. Okay, so let's see. We've got a OEM Ford emblem, some instructions, and then this is a modified OEM camera. Normally the OEM tailgate camera, see this will mount right where the oval goes in the F250, would have a, Ford did not use a connection like this. They used like a proprietary connection. So this has been modified with an aftermarket camera that has the same kind of like lines on it in the Ford housing. And this will work with any kind of aftermarket stereo here, as you can see. And with the included wiring, should be able to get me to the front of the truck, to the radio, no problem. So once you get this installed, it includes all the hardware to install it. Then obviously the emblem snaps on for your finished look. I'm going to be using one of the upfitter switches in the truck as a manual override, so I can flip the camera on at any time, not just when it's in reverse. It'll also come on automatically when I put it in reverse, but I'm going to be using one of those upfitter switches to make it so the camera will turn on at any time. Alright, so you take your T10 Torx, and we'll undo all these screws on the side of the factory radio. Alright, here we are, transferring it over. You can see on the new stereo there are holes, just like the factory stereo on the side, for it to be screwed into. So we'll do that on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the harnesses in the back. They include a antenna adapter here that will fit, adapt the factory one to this. So once I get all this done, I'm going to go just test fit everything in the vehicle and try to turn it on and make sure everything works. Alright, so I just kind of set everything in place for a minute. See how it's going to look. I'm going to set that up there for now, just to try this out. Alright, so checking the wires will be the fun part. Remove the CD screws. Protect the mechanism inside during shipping. Make sure you take those out. I've already noticed that the included diagram on here, not correct at all. So just note that this does not match up to the back of the unit. So might have to do some guessing on my reverse wire installation here. Alright, so as far as making gear connections, there's this medium-sized plug that gets connected. I plug your auxiliary connections into the auxiliary in on the stereo. And now in theory that will allow us to retain our auxiliary in, like headphone style jack by the sync system there. This is only used if you have a factory premium sound system with a subwoofer, which I do not, so that's for your subwoofer. None of these are going to be used in this case, but if you had that, you'd plug that in, and this would plug into the subwoofer outputs, which are, this is the subwoofer solo output, so you'd have to make like a split connection there. But like I said, I don't have that. I don't need to worry about that. And then the last connection we make is our final, the large connector. Gets connected right here. And like I said, we're going to try to see if it will fire up with this accessory connection unplugged. If not, we'll have to plug that in. Alright, just turn the key forward. I did have to make that connection in the back. So the newer trucks do have the CAN control over the radio. Now it's just scrolling through all the different colors while it boots up here. I've had some of these Android radios in the past, and they all work slightly different, but in most cases, the boot up time is kind of long. The first time it boots up, and then it goes into a low power state, and every time you start the truck after that, it's not nearly as bad. So, all right, here we are loaded up to the main screen. We have some sound, so that's a good sign. All right.
Or do you want to find out more by stepping out and saying, I've got to have you? To find out more about the life that Jesus has for you, call...
Well, that's a good sign.
Well, coming up
the radio works.
Or like and share the post and you may be a winner. Check us out at the new romeospizza.com.
All right, let's see, navigation. Already did that. Okay, so we've got the navigation set up. All right. Let's see. All right, play around with this a little bit more and see what else it can do here. All right, I've got connected to Wi-Fi here. Let's go to About. So it says it's Android 7.1.2 Nougat, which probably is. Who knows if that's true though. All right. I'm going to set up the steering wheel controls, or I'm going to attempt to set up the steering wheel controls. Let's see, steering wheel keys. Press steering wheel buttons, reset. Okay. Not sure what the deal is with that, but right now nothing's actually registering, so I'll look into that a little bit more. Huh. All right. So I'll play around a little bit more and we'll get back to this. But long story short, reverse install is, you put it back in the way you took it out, put your 4 screws in, make sure everything's secured, pop your panel back on, and then put your 2 screws back in. But obviously I have a little bit more to do with the backup camera wiring, which I'll get to. Alright, I found the factory settings menu, and it is, password is 126. FYI, if you get the sim radio. You uncheck for the car logo. So we want that. Click apply. I'm trying to figure out now, the one thing that doesn't seem to be working is when I turn the headlights on, it's not registering on here. So we'll see if I can get that fixed. There's the boot screen. See if I fix that. Looks nice. I figured out the illumination problem. The CAN box is not outputting when the factory illumination is turned on. So I figured it out through the process of illumination. The solid orange wire, not the one with the orange with the black stripe, that's your backup camera input. It turns 12 volts when you put it in reverse. But the solid orange, cut that, and we'll tape this off coming out of the CAN box, and then strip this off. Then what I did was figured out down here on my upfitter switch harness, there's a violet and gray stripe wire, and that has a 12 volt signal whenever the parking lights or dimmer is on. I use this pin to figure that out. So if you basically, we're going to connect the violet with gray striped wire. We're going to run a bridge wire over here to the solid orange wire where it goes into the radio. And just to simulate that, I'll show you. We'll just make a little jumper connection here. Okay. Now, when I turn on the parking lights, you see the screen dims and the buttons turn on, just like it's supposed to. Alright, so there's one thing figured out. On to the next. I took a break from the inside to come work on this out here. Got the old emblem pulled off, most of the adhesive, or the old, double-sided tape off, which isn't going to really matter because the new one attaches with screws, not double-sided tape. But here's the problem: if you're installing this on an F-150, it probably has this cutout, but if you're installing it like on an F250 or Super Duty like this, or Sport Track or something else, it doesn't have the cutout in here for the camera to be able to set down in. So, unfortunately, what that means is I have to cut a big square out of this so that has a place to go. So, basically, you just measure twice, cut once. This is definitely a situation to do that. Look under here, draw a rough outline and go in. You can always take more out, and we'll cut a hole, and after we've cut that hole, put a little touch-up paint on the exposed metal, clean it up real good, and then install the camera. Alright, got that hole cut, got this thing installed, use some self-tapping sheet metal screws to screw it down, and I put a bead of black silicone around the perimeter, so it's a nice watertight seal around this. Once I'm sure everything is good, I'll go ahead and pop the oval on there. And then the wires, as you can see, they run out the bottom of the tailgate. There's a hole already there. And these will run up along the frame, and you have to drill a hole down through the passenger compartment, get them up where they need to be. All right, I've got everything run. I ran the backup camera wires along the frame, drilled a hole up into the rear passenger area in the floor, ran it along the trim up under the dash, used a diode on one of the upfitter number 4 switch. That way, and the diode, what it does is allows electricity to flow from the backup camera wire. It comes out of the CAN box, only one direction down to the camera, and then it will not, that way if I flip the upsplitter switch, it won't backfeed power over that wire into that CAN box, just because I don't know what that would do. Might be alright, but don't want to find out. So I've got everything plugged in, got the radio bolted in, I've got all my HVAC stuff hooked back up, and I'm getting ready to put it all back together. One other thing I'm going to do is I took the factory sync USB port out, and this is the wire that came with the aftermarket stereo here. It's a little USB extension cable. Right now I've got it like pressed fit in there. It's like a compression fit. It won't stay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to epoxy around that and put epoxy in there to hold that in there, so that will effectively make that USB port work, along with the front auxiliary input and USB port. Alright, so I'm going to get the dash snapped back in, screwed down, and we'll try. Alright, here's the final test. Let's turn the key forward.
7 tomorrow, Jazz Info.
Alright, well, the radio works. Now let's go ahead and put it in reverse here, see what happens. Alright, well, that's good, that works. Let's go ahead and flip on the auxiliary switch. See what happens. Alright, so that is not working. I think I know why. Yes, I do know why. Okay. So what I need to do is, where I put the diode down under the dash, it's not letting the signal come into the, it's not letting the power backfeed into the monitor. So I need to relocate the diode up here behind the dash. And that should fix the issue. Alright, well, let's get back to it then. Alright, so I took the diode out from down there. I moved it into the circuit up here without getting too technical. Basically, when you switch it into reverse, it sends a signal over the CAN bus into this box, and then it outputs 12 volts on this wire here. I put a diode at the end of that wire so it can only go this way. This is the wire here that comes from the backup camera in the back and the upfitter switch under the dash, and then this is the output of that wire, the orange with the black stripe, that goes into the stereo. So basically what that allows is for power to flow into the stereo for the signal from either the CAN box or this, but not into the CAN box, just to protect it. So, did you get all that? Alright, now it's time to hide this mess of wires and get it all buttoned up. Alright, so here it is all finished up. Everything's buttoned up. Looks very nice. I'll show you what all that customizing did here. So, got to put it in reverse. Obviously, backup camera comes on. And then, let's try this again this time. There we go. So now you can just run down the road, the backup camera on if you want. And you just flip it off here. Alrighty, so that concludes how to install an aftermarket Android navigation system in your 2011 and up F250.